Welcome to this course on HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And in this tutorial, you're going to learn how to use HTML to create your own web page. What do we use HTML for? HTML is used to describe the structure of a web page. So HTML basically is a standard markup language that is used for building web pages. Now we could have a web page made up of tags. So we have the first tag, which is not on slide, and is the doc type HTML. And after that, we have the HTML tag, which is the root tag of our web page. Now, inside the HTML tag, we have other tags. First off is the head tag. Now, the head tag contains meta information about our web page. That is a bit advanced. We will look at it as we progress through the course. Inside the head tag, we can have the title. Now, the title is always going to show in our web page in the browser at the title bar. And you can see on this slide that the title of the web page is My First Web Page. Inside the HTML tag, we also have the body tag. The body tag, based on this slide, comprises of the paragraph and H1. The paragraph, which is the P tag. So we use the P tag, which means paragraph in HTML, to write a paragraph. And we have headings. In this slide, you can see H1. H1 and the content of the tag is main heading. So with this, we have been able to define the structure of our web page using HTML. Now, this is how a simple HTML document looks like. We have the doc type HTML declaration, which tells the browser that this is a HTML document. And inside, after that, we have our HTML tag, which is the root tag. And then we have the content of our web page. Now, we have a basic understanding of what a HTML code looks like. It's important that we start writing HTML. In order to write HTML, we need an environment. For now, we are going to be making use of Notepad. But as we progress through the course, we are going to download an IDE, Integrated Development Environment, which we would use to write code. Now, this makes our life easier as developers because of features that come with these IDEs, such as IntelliSense, auto-completion, and we are going to have a few for them as we start using our IDE to write. But for now, we are going to be using Notepad to start with. So I would come to my system and search Notepad, and I'll open it up, make the screen bigger, try to increase the zoom, and inside here, this Notepad, we are going to write HTML. So we are starting up with our doc type HTML tag, which tells the browser that this is a HTML document. And then we have our HTML tag. Now, how do we write a tag in HTML? A tag is written with a starting tag and an ending tag. Now we have the HTML tag. The beginning tag is HTML, and we are going to have the closing tag with the slash in front of the HTML. Now in between, we are going to have our content. And our first content is going to be the head. Now, we should probably, we always need the slash and then the greater than sign. And inside here, zoom out a bit. Inside the head, we can write the title. So we write the title by using the title tag, and in between the title tag, we are going to write the title of our web page. And in this case, we are just going to say my website. So we have been able to define a title inside the head tag. So now we are going to come outside the head tag and write our body tag. And in our body tag, this will contain the content of our web page that is going to be visible on the screen. So now our body is going to contain other nested tags. First off is our P tag. P, remember, stands for paragraph. And then we can say my first website. Now we are done writing our HTML. We have our doc type. We have our HTML opening and closing tag. We have our head tag, which has meta description like the title. And we have our body tag. And in between, inside our body tag, we have our first paragraph. So now we have to save the file and open it on our browser to see the content. So I'll click on File and I'll click on Save. And I'm going to save it with as my website.html. And I'll click Save as all types and I'll click on Save. Now I'm going to go to where I save the file. I'm going to double click and my first website shows up on the screen, which is the content of our paragraph. Have it in our notepad. So let's add more content. This time H2, which stands for heading 2. And we are going to say heading. So now I'll save using Ctrl S. I'll go back to the browser, I'll reload, and we have the text heading on the screen. So now we have been able to use Notepad to write, and we can view the page source by right-clicking View Page Source, and there we see the content of our web page. So with this View Page Source, you can also dive into other websites and view their HTML. So now we have used Notepad. We need to go further and use an IDE to write our HTML, which is going to make our life simpler. I'll go to Google, I'll go to the URL and I'll search for Visual Studio Code. And Visual Studio Code is going to open up and I'm going to click on download. Now it's going to take me to the Visual Studio Code website, and you can download it for your operating system, be it Windows, Ubuntu, or Mac, whichever operating system you're on. You download it, you walk through the installer, and you're going to have Visual Studio Code in your system to use and start writing HTML. Now, you must not use Visual Studio Code. We have others like Sublime Text, like Atom, and obviously Visual Studio Code, and much, much more. But personally, I prefer to use Visual Studio Code. Now, if you have some experience in using others, you feel free to use it for this tutorial, and you're going to have the same result as I have over here. But my personal preference, I'll be using Visual Studio Code. And so now I guess you have Visual Studio Code installed in your system. So I'm going to go to the website that we just built using Notepad. I'll right click on it and I'm going to click on Open with Code. Now this opens up the web page that we have been writing using Notepad in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to delete it all and we'll start from scratch. Now the first thing we always do is to write our doc type HTML declaration. So that's what I'm going to do now. Doc type HTML. And after that, the next thing we're going to do is to write our HTML tag. So we're going to have our HTML opening and closing tag. And you can see the auto completion that comes with Visual Studio Code. You can't get this using Notepad. So inside our HTML, as we have done in Notepad, we are going to have our head tag. Also, you see the autocomplete. And then inside the head tag, we are going to have our title, which says my website. After the head tag, we can have our body tag. Now, in between our body tag, we have the content of our web page. Now we say this is a heading using the h1 tag. So I've done Ctrl S, and I'm going to go back to my desktop, right click and click on open, and we see this is a heading, and this is coming from the h1 tag. And then remember my website title. We see my website showing on the title bar. So let's start with headings. There we have our h1, and we have headings ranging from h1 to h6 in HTML. So write h2 and say this is second heading. And then we can write our h3, which says this is third heading up to h6. So we can write h4 and say this is fourth heading. And then h5, this is the fifth heading. And then we can have h6 and say this is the sixth heading. So now I'll save using Ctrl S, go back to the browser, and I'll reload, and then we see the headings from h1 to h6. The h1 is the most important heading in the web page, and the h6 is the least most important heading in the web page. So after headings, we have our P, which stands for paragraph. And then we can write, this is a paragraph. We save it. So the P tag, we save it and we reload. We see this is a paragraph on the screen. So now we can go back and continue working with HTML elements as they are called. So the next element is the anchor tag, the A tag, and is written with an opening and a closing tag, and in between we write the content of A tag, which actually is a link. So we can say Google, and if we go back to our website and we reload, we see Google, but this is meant to be a link. In order to make this A tag a link, we need to write and we need to give it a specific attribute. So what is an attribute in HTML? Attributes are used to provide additional information about HTML elements. So that's what attributes are. They are used to provide additional information about HTML elements, and they must always come within the opening tag. We do not write attributes of an element at the closing tag. We always write the attributes at the beginning tag. And in this case, we are going to use the href attribute. Now the href is used to specify the link destination. So we write it by saying href is equal to and quotation marks. It could be single, it could be double, but convention is to use double quotation marks. And I'll say https www.google.com. And now I save, I go back to my browser, I reload, and you see the Google is now being displayed as a link. And if we click on it, it opens up google.com. So now we see it opened Google in our web page. In order to prevent that, we need to add another attribute. and that is the target attribute. And if we say target is equal to quotation mark underscore, if we save, go back to our browser, we reload, and if we click on the link again, it takes us to an external page, no longer our web page. So now that's what the target attribute is used for. So those are attributes in HTML. So now let's take a look at another HTML element, this time the image element. And as you notice, that is how the image element is. It doesn't have the closing tag like the paragraph or the A tag. So our image must always have a source attribute. And inside the source attribute, we write the source to the image. And I will just put down this source, which I've gotten from the internet. It's an image from unsplash.com. So now we put the source of that image inside the image tag. But if I just delete the source and then delete, I save, we go back to our browser and we reload, we see nothing. But if we go back and I Ctrl Z and I save, now we have the source attribute. I save, go back to the browser, I reload, and there we see our image on the screen. So with this, this is how we place images inside of our website. Now with the source tag. Now the image also takes an alt tag. An alt tag is used in case the image is not loaded on the screen, maybe due to poor network connectivity and also for screen readers. So now, as we have seen, HTML elements always have the start, the content, and then the closing. So all these makes up what HTML elements. Just as we have the body, the start, and then we have the closing tag of the body, and in between we have the content. Also the head, we have the title, and inside the title we have the content, which is my website. So these are what HTML elements. So styling in HTML. We style HTML elements using the style attribute, and inside there it takes the property. Now we won't go into property in great details because this is a CSS feature, but I will just mention it anyway to give you an introduction into it. So now we have the style, and then the property, we can say color. Now we are going to define what color, and we can say red. So now if we save, we go back and we reload, we see that this paragraph becomes red. So it's not just the color, we can also give it a background. And we do specify that by saying background and colon, we give the color. So I'll just use hex code with hashtag EEE, which is a slight gray color. I'll save, and I'll go back to my browser and reload, and there the background is now slight gray and the text remains what? Red. So this is styling in what? HTML. So in HTML, we also can specify the language, and we can do this using the lang attribute on the HTML itself, and we can say lang is equal to en. So with this, we have told the browser that the language of our HTML document is going to be English. So on the image tag, we can also specify the width and the height of our image. So we can say height is equal to 200 and width is equal to 200. All values are in pixels. So if we save and we reload, we see a smaller image with a height of 200 pixels and a width of 200 pixels. So I'm going to delete everything we have, but I'll just leave the headings. So now headings are so important, and they are so important because search engines use headings to index the structure of the content, the structure and content of your web pages. So normally you're meant to have only one H1 in your website because that is the most important heading. Style, and we can now say font size, and the value in pixels could be, let's say, 100 pixels. And when we save, we go back to our web page and reload, we see that the H6 is now 100 pixels and is bigger than other headings we have over there, even much more bigger than the H1. So if we come and say, let's give it 16 pixels. We reload, we come back, we save, and we reload. We see this is the sixth word heading. Now that is headings in HTML. Let's discuss paragraph. So I'll delete everything and write a paragraph. And done with that, paragraph, the HTML P defines what? Paragraph. So the P tag is used to define paragraphs in our web page. So we can say this is the first paragraph, and we can have another paragraph that says this is second paragraph. And if we save, come back to our web page and reload, we see this is the first paragraph, and we also see this is the second paragraph. Now, what special things can we do with paragraphs? So now, if we come to our paragraph and let's say we give loads and loads of space, and then let's add some content. This is the first, and then we just say comma, we come down, give more space off, we give more white spaces, my, and then we save. So we have this is the first of my paragraph. If we should save and we reload the page, we just see this is the first of my paragraph. We do not see all those white spaces we have here. And that is because by default, the browser automatically removes any extra space that we have, and then it displays it as a straight line. So I'm going to delete. So not all the time we would want to have a paragraph in our web page. So now I'll show us how to format text in HTML. So let's start with B. So we use B written like this. B stands for bold, and we say this is a bold text. So if we save it, we go back to our browser and reload, we see this is a bold text, and it's actually bold because B is for what? Bold. And also, apart from B, we can use strong. So this is a strong text. And if we save, you actually see that strong and bold and B, they look alike. Reload, we get the same effect of this is a strong text. And you'll notice that these two texts, they are not on the same line, they are together. So if we want them to break and be on separate line, we are going to use BR. So we can just write BR, which is for what? Break, like this. And if we save and go back, refresh, then we have each text is on its own line. So not only strong and bold, if we want to write in italics, we just use I, and then we say this is italics. And if we save and reload our browser, we see this is italic. So we use I to write text in italics. And for emphasis, we use EM. EM stands for emphasized text. So if we save and reload, we see emphasized text. just looks so much more like what the italics. So we can also have mark. So mark, this text is marked. So marked is used to mark text, as the name implies. So if we reload, we see this text is marked. So mark is used to somehow color our text. It doesn't actually work like a background color, but it gives it some kind of marking. So we can also, apart from mark, we have small. Let me just add a BR for line break. And then I use small and say this is a small text. So as the name implies, small, if we refresh, we see the text is what is smaller than other texts we have on our website. So apart from small, we also have delete, which we write as del. So we can say deleted text. So if we save, come back to our browser and reload, we see the text is what deleted. It's actually crossed. So that's what delete stands for. We also have, apart from delete, let me do a line break. We also have ins, which stands for what? Inserting. So this text is inserted. So if I save and refresh our browser, we see the text now special with what? Underline. So ins sometimes works like what? Underline. So apart from ins, we also have sub. And sub stands for what? Subscript. So let's say subscript. And apart from sub, as you imagine, we also have sub, which stands for what? Superscript. So if we reload and refresh our browser, we see our subscript, which appears on top, and our superscript, which appears below. So I'm just going to add a line break here for us to see it clearly. Not button. And so subscript comes below. So if I put 5 and delete the subscript and put C, and the superscript appears below. So if I put, let's say 2 and I put 10, we save, we go back to our browser and we reload, we see 5C. So this is a subscript. And then we see 10 square, which is what? A superscript. So these are ways, the different ways we can format text in what? In HTML.